Okay, let's give Scott Walker a chance to respond right now. He joins us this morning from Alabama. Governor, thank you for joining us this morning. You just heard Donald Trump say Wisconsin is not performing. Your response?
Well, he's using the talking points of the Democrats. Those talking points haven't worked in the past 4.5 years as we've won 3 elections in 4 years, not just with Republican support, but with a huge margin amongst independents and even some discerning Democrats. Why? Because we took a $3.6 billion budget deficit. We fixed it. We did it while cutting taxes by billions of dollars. Our roads are better. Our schools are better. Our state is better. Those are the same talking points the Democrats used. They didn't work in the past. They're not going to work now. But the one thing I do want to clarify is I do think that there is some real frustration out there. It's why you not only see his numbers up, you see some of the other candidates who've not run for office before. They're angry at Washington. Heck, I'm angry at Washington. I'm angry at my own party leadership who told us they were going to repeal Obamacare, and we still don't see a bill on the desk of the president. I think that's where the real frustration is. In the end, if people want someone who's going to fight, but not just fight and win and actually get results and do it without compromising common sense conservative principles, I'm the candidate.
It sounds like you're following through on what the Washington Post reported this week. They reported on a conference call you had with your fundraisers where you said you had to do better in protest, passion, and policy. Is that right?
Yeah, I think there's no doubt about it. I think people want to see what they saw the other day at the Iowa State Fair. We had protesters, one who tried to come up on the stage, and I said, I'm not intimidated by you, sir. I'm not intimidated by the left. I'm not intimidated by the special interests from Washington. I'm certainly not intimidated by the big government union bosses, but early on, there were a few even in my own party. You know, our state assembly was great, most of our state senate, but a few of our state senators, some of whom had been in leadership, did not want to do the big, bold reforms we did, and we took them on, just like I'll take anybody on, including the leadership of my own party in Washington, if that's what it takes to do what's right for the American people.
Also been taking on this question of birthright citizenship and the 14th Amendment. Let me just put the first sentence of the 14th Amendment up there on the screen right now. All persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and of the state wherein they reside. Do you support the first line of the 14th Amendment?
Well, George, let me step back for a second to tell you an interesting story. Last month, I was in a small town in Iowa called Plainfield. In fact, I lived there as a kid for a while, and a family came from Waukesha, Wisconsin, to confront me. The father in particular was upset that I was one of the 25 governors that went to court and stopped the president. And I told that father, in a very tense situation with the media all around, including some from ABC News and others out there, I told that father I felt bad for him and his family. I really do. I feel bad for families like that. But I told him that this president had said, I believe some 22 times before he did what he did last November, that he couldn't do it. He said that he was the president, not the emperor, that he wasn't above the law. And then he went out and changed the law by his actions. It took me and 24 other governors to stop him in court. The problem here, we need to address the root problem of the issue, which is we need a president who's going to secure the borders, not just give lip service to it like we've seen over the past couple of decades, secure the border and enforce the laws. My point all week has been and continues to be, as it was last month, until we address those core problems, we're not addressing the real issue, and Americans are right to be upset with that.
I understand that's what you feel we have to address, but this is a simple yes or no question. Do you support that line of the 14th Amendment?
Well, I said the law is there, and we need to enforce the laws, including those that are in the Constitution. My point is having this debate about anything else when we don't have politicians who are committed to actually securing the border and enforcing the laws, which means, very simply in our country, E-Verify, making sure that every employer ensures that the people working for them are legal to work in this state, in this country. That will resolve the problems we're talking about, and that's what I've been talking about this week.
So you're not seeking to repeal or alter the 14th Amendment?
No, my point is any discussion that goes beyond securing the border and enforcing laws are things that should be a red flag to voters out there who for years have heard lip service from politicians and are understandably angry because those politicians haven't been committed to following through on those promises. I hope the one thing people would see, in my state, I had 100,000 protesters on a different issue. I had all sorts of death threats and all sorts of other abuse. I think people in my state will tell you whether they agree or disagree with me on the issue. The one thing I do is when I make a promise, I follow through on it. My promise is to truly secure the border and enforce the laws of this great country.
Let's talk about health care. You put out a plan this week calling for the replacement of Obamacare with a series of tax credits for everyone. It would be escalating over age. This is what one of your rivals, Governor Bobby Jindal, had to say about that.
Scott Walker's plan actually does create a new entitlement program. It actually does guarantee universal coverage through government subsidies for every American One estimate this week says it would cost over $1 trillion. And he doesn't tell us how he would pay for this plan.
So how much will your plan cost? How are you going to pay for it?
Well, he's just wrong on that. And in fact, conservative commentator after commentator from the Wall Street Journal, the National Review, and plenty of others out there have said this is the best plan out there. In fact, it's one of the only plans out there, but they said it's the best plan. It's about freedom. It's about giving patients and their families the freedom to control their own health care decisions and to control their own money. We repeal Obamacare immediately. On day one, we send a bill up to Congress, and on day one, we get rid of the special provisions for Congress, their families, their staff, and everyone else to make sure they repeal it entirely immediately. And then we give people a tax credit for those who don't have health insurance from their employer. If you get it from your employer, it's not going to be touched. If anything, your premiums are likely to go down because repealing Obamacare and putting in place our reforms will actually help lower health care costs, not raise them as we saw under Obamacare. But we give people a tax credit. It goes up by age because before Obamacare, that's what happened. Your health care costs go up over age. The credit goes up over age. We allow people to apply that to the health care plan they want or not buy health care insurance if they don't want. But we put the freedom back in the hands of the American people. And for us, it's a simple way to do it that's cost neutral. It repeals all of the $1 trillion worth of tax increases that you see under Obamacare, gives us one of the biggest tax cuts we've had, well, in the past 40-some years, one of the best pro-growth plans out there. And we do it by making sure we have a tax system that appropriately acknowledges some of the top-tier health insurance plans, and by giving Medicaid back to the states where there's real reform. That makes it cost neutral.
Finally, you heard Donald Trump say he doesn't think Hillary can overcome this email issue. Do you agree with that? Will this still be an issue in the general election?
Well, I think she's got all sorts of problems when it comes to health care. Hillary cares more about the ruling class than about the middle class. She's trying to give special breaks or talking about giving special breaks to some of her biggest supporters while the rest of us are stuck with it. And when it comes to email, I don't think Americans can trust her. Every day we see more information about these emails, and they're not about emails. They're really about national security. She's put my national security at risk. She's put your national security at risk. She's put the American people's national security at risk. Hillary Clinton would be a pretty good deceiver-in-chief, but I don't think we can trust her to be the commander-in-chief.
Sounds like you are ready to make it an issue if you get the nomination. Governor Walker, thanks very much for your time this morning.
Thank you, George. Good to be with you.